Welcome to a special episode, number 49 of Black, White, and Blue in the South, a podcast discussing Democratic politics with a Southern flair. This is your co-host, Bill Kimler. Jumelle and I are busy in these final days of the 2024 campaign, working hard to secure as many votes as possible. A big congratulations, by the way, to my partner for racking up an endorsement from the SCEA, that's the South Carolina Educators Association, an endorsement well earned. As this episode is dropping just under 2 weeks prior to the November 5th election, and as early voting is already underway in South Carolina, we wanted to give you the opportunity to hear speeches given by a number of candidates who are on the ballot in Greenwood County and perhaps in a number of adjacent counties in South Carolina as well. Of course, you'll hear speeches given by myself and Jumelle. You'll also hear from Francie Kleckley for SC State Senate, Bryon for U.S. Congress, and perhaps from a few others. Personally, running for office has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Yep, it's exhausting, but it's also been so damn stimulating, satisfying my personal need to develop creative and persuasive messaging, for learning about policy and its impact on real people every day, for talking with people and not at people. I've learned so much from engaging with others, and I'm grateful to all the guests who have appeared on our show in the past year and to all of the organizations who have invited us, and I'm now speaking on behalf of Jumelle and I, into your worlds to learn about what you do and what you need. What will this podcast look like post-election? I'm not sure, but not knowing can be so exciting, you know? Well, without further ado, let's hear some local political speeches, shall we?
Introducing Dr. Jumelle Brooks for SC House District 12 from October 5th, 2024.
A lot of good stuff has been said, so I'm going to take a couple of moments just to tell you a little bit about where I stand as a candidate and get feedback. This to be running at this time with the slate that we have is a privilege. So when I say every time I get a moment to speak, I just want to make sure I give a shout out to the candidates that are running on the Democratic ticket, because the slate that we have that is going to be in front of you starting October 21st, if you early vote, is a powerful slate. It is a group of people that is ready to take on whatever they thought they had coming. We prepared. So I think that is something to get excited for as well. We're excited for the top of that ticket, but I can tell you that Greenwood County is going to rock if we can bring in everybody on the bottom of that ticket. So last year, it's almost, was it a year to date? A year to date, I introduced myself to you all as a candidate for State House District 12. That's really cool. I stated that I was a candidate who desired to be a voice for the people who were underserved, unserved, and then those who just sometimes felt like they didn't even deserve to be served. That's why I added my name to that list. As I continued this journey to the State House, I brought several messages. And if you followed me, you've heard the taglines for those messages. I reminded everyone that they had everything in their bag that they needed to be successful. We have it with us. We take it with us every day. And if we can just remember the way we were raised and how we were brought up, if we can remember to consider others, if we can remember to have that tenacity, we have just what we need to be that change that we're looking for. I reminded us that we were all, believe it or not, farmers. Every day we wake up, we have the opportunity to plant seeds. Those can be seeds that promote economic growth, seeds that promote educational growth, seeds that promote and protect the rights of you and others. sees that promote equal representation and fair wages in all fields, and promote the destruction of all things evil. That's what we planning. I also reminded people that, believe it or not, you are freedom. Each and every one of you are the freedom that you're looking for. In that freedom is wrapped the most powerful thing that you've ever had. It's your voice. It is the voice that you should use to stand for right no matter who is standing against you. It is the voice that you should use to shout down and drown out any attempt to hinder growth. Why were those messages that I gave to you over this year important? And why do I believe that those messages will stand the test of time? It's because democracy, my friend, is a living thing. And every day that we are here, we will have to fight to protect it. This fight for democracy is not a fight that one American can take on. It's not a fight that two Americans can take on. It's a fight that all Americans have to take on, one city, one county, one state at a time, in order to make the change that we need. We all have a job to do. What is our job? We must work to reduce the maternal mortality rate for African American women. No questions asked. We must reinstate Roe versus Wade. No questions asked. We must protect the public funding of the educational system. Don't take your eyes off of it. We must fight like all other to protect access to Social Security. We must fight to increase access to mental health. We must implement gun laws that protect the masses. No one said take it from you, but we need to regulate it. We must, don't miss this one, we must make sure that we protect our county and our district lines from gerrymandering. It happens and we're not even looking for it. And they do it strategically to dilute your vote. So we need to be aware of those things when they happen. We must protect our towns, our cities from crime. We must. We must increase the health literacy. Not many candidates have talked to you about health literacy. But if you want to see a better health outcome at the city, state level, even at the national level, you have to increase health literacy. We must protect our veterans and our aging population. You know why? Because they deserve it. And that's our job to do so. We need to fight to demand the enactment, so stop playing with it, South Carolina, the hate crime bill. I can sum this up, but we got to fight like with everything that we have left in us to protect our future. Sitting back idle and not taking a stand won't help us. So it's not an individual fight, because you know what happens when we all come together. We can change things, and that's where we are now. So we can't lose momentum, and we can't lose focus. We have to elect candidates that don't mind being in the trenches with the people, not sending text messages. Y'all got that text message? Okay. I'm gonna tell you a quick story about being in the trenches. On this campaign trail, I'm doing phone calls. We do something called call time. And I called this one candidate, one constituent, 90 years old. And I remember my first interaction with her. I said, "Miss Cora." She said, "Yes." I said, "Oh my God, you're 90 years old." She said, "I don't know you." I said, "Yes, ma'am, you don't." So I said, "Well, I'm gonna come out to your home and introduce myself to you." And she said, "Okay, come on out." I went out to meet Miss Cora maybe a month or so ago and explained to her the voting process, explained to her how she could vote absentee. When we finished talking, she said, "Well, you come back when you're not busy." And I thought, yeah, we're going to find that time. Fast forward to the storm. So Hurricane Helene comes in. I, like most of you all, lost power. We had some property damage. But my focus remained on my family and my community in that time frame. So I immediately, as soon as power came back, I saw on Facebook that the city was looking for help to pass out MREs and water. So I immediately jumped on the bandwagon. I just showed up like I was a part of the city and started serving, right? So one of those days I won't forget, is when I left Promised Land. I left Promised Land, and I was thinking, wait a second, I got to go back and check on Miss Cora. The fun fact is Miss Cora lives right across the street from her 88-year-old sister-in-law. Okay. So they can literally open the door and look out at each other and make sure each other's okay. So I loaded up my car up with supplies to take back and go check on Miss Cora and her sister-in-law. When I got to Miss Cora's house, she was sitting outside under a tree, just as calm as she could be. I pulled up in the driveway and I got out the car with my same old, Miss Cora. She said, yes. I said, you remember me? But this time I pointed to the sign that I had in her yard. She said, I sure do. So I went up to Miss Cora and I said, I know it's been rough, but I know you can't get out. So I brought the supplies to you. Miss Cora said, well, I sure do appreciate it, baby. And I said, and don't worry, I got your sister-in-law supplies in the car too, right? So I go to put the supplies in her house, and I open the door, and I automatically think, Miss Cora, you lost power. And she said, yeah, it came on yesterday. And I said, did you clean out your freezer? She said, yes. And I said, well, I'm going to back my car up to your door. And all of that spoiled food that you have, you're not going to wait on anybody else to take it off. It's going in the trunk of my car. So I loaded up hers, and I drove across the street. I actually backed across the street, which was really good, to her sister-in-law, and I did the same thing. Her sister-in-law is just overwhelmed, and she says to me as I'm loading up the car, she says, how much do I owe you? I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I'm weak when it comes down to that kind of stuff. And I turned to her and I said, you paid for these services a long time ago. It is our responsibility to not forget those that cannot gain access to resources. And that is why we have to fight. That is why we have to fight. We have to have people on the slates, and we have to have people that represent our counties and our district that do not mind going the extra mile to check on someone. So recognizing that this is just the beginning, let's show South Carolina that there's a new player on the field. And that player will not take no for an answer. That player will train and promote a replacement so we don't have gaps in our government when it comes down to representation for our thought processes. That player is not going to ask anyone at that table for a seat. And you know why? Because my family, your family, your family, and your families help build the table that they're sitting at. So we're going to claim what is ours. And that player that has been added to the field doesn't mind standing for what's right, whether she stands by herself or with a team. I ask for your support to ensure that we can get the seat for District 12 State House Representatives, as I continue to put my family first, your family first, and our state first. South Carolina will prevail. Thank you.
And now, Bill Kimler for SC House District 13 from a speech given on September 7th, 2024.
Good morning, Greenwood. You know, I could do the whole fired up, ready to go chant. It's kind of the tradition around here, but to be honest, none of you can hold a candle to how fired up and ready to go our own Lane Horowitz is. Lane, wave your hand in the air. You know how fired up and ready to go she is? Lane was so fired up and ready to go that yesterday morning, she actually got dressed to come to the breakfast meeting. How many of you started your Friday morning so fired up and ready to go to a Democratic breakfast meeting? She texted me, when are you going to be there? I said, tomorrow. She went, what day is today? So I'm going to try to live up to that high bar that my friend Lane has set. Thank you. My name is Bill Kimler, and I am running for State House District 13. Now, oh, thank you. Now, I'm going to say something that sounds absolutely ridiculous, coming from a candidate for public office and coming from a chair of a local county political party, but it's this. I am not a political person. I'm really not. I have a bunch of interests that fill my day and bring fulfillment to my life outside of politics. I love to read. Anybody here a Stephen King fan? We need to talk. All right? I love movies. I love technology. I love to hike outdoors. I used to love to run, and I need to get back into it, to be quite honest with you. But in 2016, 3 men inspired me and opened my eyes to the wider world and made me see how laws made by strangers hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, can have a terrible impact on everyday people. Now, many of you know this fact. Many of you were born into this fact and knew it from childhood, and all I can say is, I'm late to the game, but I see it. I've awoken to that fact. These 3 men in 2016 woke me up. Can you guess who those 3 men were? Donald Trump, Jeff Duncan, and John McCravey. Now, too much is said about that first guy, so I'm not going to waste a single more word on him. And and Jeff Duncan, well, his political career ended in disgrace, absolutely befitting the hypocrisy of his do what I say, not what I do approach to his faith and family values platform. So I won't say any more about him either. So that leaves me with my opponent, South Carolina House Representative John McCravey. I didn't know him from Adam when I followed his political page on Facebook many years ago. But boy, did I learn a lot about my representative soon thereafter. I learned he has a very, very narrow view of the world, and that he, in a position of power, will marginalize you, will belittle you, will label you, will demonize you if you step outside of that narrow view that he feels is his God-given right to impose upon everyone else. If you're gay, lesbian, bi, trans, too bad. Your existence is immoral and doesn't deserve all the rights guaranteed to everyone else in this country under law. If you're Jewish, Muslim, atheist, your religious views have no value under law, only his do. If you're liberal, independent, or God forbid, a moderate Republican, oh, he's got catchy labels to stick all over you. Leftist, Marxist, communist, socialist. Look, he doesn't even know what those labels mean. I'm not even sure I know what leftist means. But if it's the opposite of fascist, hey, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. In a recent letter that he sent to mailboxes all around the county, he questioned my character. He questioned my morals. He even questioned my right to run for office against him because of where I was born. Boy, does that sound familiar? But despite all that bluster, which I can easily dismiss as hot air, there was one thing that he wrote in that 4-page letter that stuck with me. He said that I do not represent South Carolina values. Now, he never stated what those values are. He left it to the reader to fill in the blanks. So let me take a few minutes to fill in those blanks for you, tell you a bit about my values and about me, and then you can decide for yourself whether those values are indeed South Carolina values. Fortunately, I have a long list of values, but I'm only going to talk about 3 because I'm going to show mercy on y'all. South Carolina is the second worst in the nation when it comes to medical debt that's gone into collections. Second worst in the nation. And that's not just having medical bills, that's having medical bills so bad that they've all gone to collection agencies already. South Carolina's the second worst in the nation. And that leads me to my first value: access to affordable health care and relief from the crippling burden of medical debt. 1 out of 5 South Carolinians, look around, 1 out of 5 of you, have debt that's gone to collections for medical bills. If you're an African American, it's 1 out of 4. This is South Carolina. And to rub salt in the wound, South Carolina state government feels like it's their business to take on the collection of that debt. And they come after your state tax refunds. They'll garnish it. It's happened in my household. Hey, I filed the taxes. I was supposed to get back a nice check from the government, and instead I get a letter saying your medical bills were overdue. We're just going to take that money and give it to the hospital. They don't do it for any other agency. You're late on your mortgage payment, late on your car payment, you're late on your yacht payment. Government doesn't get involved. But somehow, when it comes to something you can't do without, your health, they feel it's their business to come in and start garnishing your tax refunds. And that's got to go. How is it that our conservative lawmakers are okay with that government outreach into your tax refund to grab that payment out of there? It is wrong. I'll tell you a quick personal story. Many of you knew this. 2 years ago, I donated a kidney. I'm walking around with a little less of me than I started out with. Went to a woman I didn't know, saved her life. Part of being a kidney donor is that you are not to incur any medical bills in the process. It's all taken care of. It's the law. So I was asked to take some tests here at Self that the lab order explicitly stated, do not bill the patient, send it to the Augusta Medical Transplant Center, they'll take care of it. I had those tests done. Guess what I got in the mail 30 days later? I got a bill. I called them up and I said, listen, y'all, here's a copy of the order. It says, do not bill the patient. I am the patient. It's against the law. Please take care of this. I said, we got it. Guess what I got in the mail 30 days after that? A late due notice. I said, oh no, hell no. So I called them again. I said, this is wrong. I ain't paying this. You're against the law. Get this out of here. They said, we got it. Guess what came in the mail 30 days after that? I kid you not. A second late due notice for those same bills. Now, get this. This wasn't tax season. But had it been tax season, what could the government have done? Reached in, grabbed that money out of my tax refund for bills that I shouldn't have even been given. That is wrong, and that's one of the first things that I will do as your elected representative is to get rid of that process. It is wrong, and the government has no business in there. We need to bring relief to South Carolinians. Our entire medical system is messed up, and it's going to take people a lot smarter than me to fix it, but we can provide relief to South Carolinians who are suffering under this medical debt today. Other states have done it. North Carolina has done it. We can do it too. It starts with stopping this garnishment practice. It starts with disallowing medical bills from affecting your credit score and your ability to buy a car, a house, or something else. Medical bills should not be part of that. We should be incentivizing hospitals to forgive debt or to negotiate with patients to make the debt more payable, and partner with agencies that purchase debt. Pennies on the dollar. They do it all over the country. Arizona has done it. So can South Carolina if we just had lawmakers with the will to do so. And that's what I'll fight for. Second value, security. Now get this. Our conservative lawmakers are all about what? Law and order, right? Back the blue. That's what they like to say they are, but this is another example of words without the evidence to support it. Here's the truth that they suppress. South Carolina has among the worst crime rates in the United States. Did you know that? Can some of you have felt that? Yes, we do. Some of the worst. Here's the fact. A national study of FBI statistics and local government spending found that South Carolina has the third worst crime rate in the United States compared to the money that we spend on policing. Third worst. South Carolina experiences 111 crimes per $1,000 spent on police, almost double the national average of 66. The worst state's Nebraska, second was Arkansas. South Carolina is right there among them. What do those three states have in common? You don't need to answer, but think on that. So this tells us two things. We're either not funding our law enforcement enough, which is ironic, considering that they're all about, being anti-defund the police. We're already defunded, ladies and gentlemen. We're not paying them enough as it is, and the numbers show it. Or we're not utilizing those funds in an effective manner. That's number one about security. Number two is a topic they're not even talking about in Columbia because they're not capable of it, and that's cybersecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a new world of crime and warfare that we are, as a state, woefully unprepared for. I was out door knocking the other day with my good friend Francie, and I knocked on the door of a young man who worked at a car dealership nearby, and he was telling me a story about how their business in South Carolina was not able to sell cars for 2 to 3 weeks. Have you heard about that? Anybody tried to buy a car in the last couple of months? You couldn't, because a company called CDK got hacked, their data locked up to ransomware, and all the car dealers across the nation were unable to process orders, do transfers of titles, do lookups, do all their business depended upon this company. Billions of dollars of business was lost because of poor cybersecurity practices. Earlier this year, 90% of pharmacies nationwide were not able to sell their drugs at the appropriate price because United Healthcare got hacked. That data was locked up due to ransomware, and your pills and your medication was not coming to you at the right price it was supposed to. My wife's company, she works at Lonza. Anybody here work at Lonza? Lonza is a big employer in town. For a month, they could not process payroll because their software provider, Kronos, got hacked, the data locked through ransomware, and they couldn't get paid. It's not just inconvenience either. It can be life-threatening. A ransomware on blood donation nonprofit group called One Blood forced many hospitals in the Southeast to rely on different critical blood supplies and have to hold last-minute blood drives because the blood samples that this group did, guess what? They were locked up because they were cyber hacked, and it caused doctors to postpone procedures. Surgeries could not be performed, tests could not be performed, and that included here in South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just as bad as gun violence on the streets. This is just as bad as people vandalizing and damaging property, and in fact, it's going to cost lives, if not now, then very soon. And they're just not able to talk about this in Columbia. I offer you a choice of somebody with 30 years of IT management experience to be that voice, to work with the federal government, to work with the colleges and universities, to work with private agencies, to develop a national cybersecurity guard. We have a National Guard to deploy in case of natural disasters and other incidents nationwide. We need a National Cybersecurity Guard that we can deploy when Self Regional gets hacked and the emergency room is shut down, or when your water supply is hacked and they can't release the water or test the water to make it safe because of it. We need to have that, and we need lawmakers. We have lawmakers that can't do much else other than all caps typing on Facebook. We need somebody better prepared to have these conversations, and we need it now. Third and last value, and this one's a personal one, independence, and primarily independence from the government. I value independence. I value the freedom to be left alone to pursue your life as you see fit, as long as you're not harming anyone else physically, mentally, or financially. It's that simple. It really is. And that covers a lot of topics, from banning books, to what teachers are allowed to teach, to what health care you're allowed to receive. The government has gotten too involved in your personal lives. The government should not be interfering in your business, even if they object on moral grounds to whatever you do. They can object to it, but this is America. They should not be interfering in it as long as you're not harming anybody else physically, mentally, or financially. For me, this is perfectly encapsulated in one subject. Again, this could cover many, but one subject in particular has been South Carolina's laser-focused attack on transgender youth. It's a very niche subject, but somehow it's dominated their lawmaking cycle these last couple of years. It's something my opponent calls a lie. He even wrote that in his letter. He says, the lie of transgender youth. Listen, he can have his opinion, as wrong as I think that is. Some of you might share that opinion, and that's okay too. But then again, does a 14-year-old who wishes to live differently than society believes they should live be having the government dictate how they live? If it doesn't affect you, physically, mentally, or financially, why can't we just leave them alone? There's only 3,000 approximately transgender children in South Carolina. And of those 3,000, only about 200 have sought medical care with participation of their parents, counselors, and medical doctors. They all have to participate. So for those 200 children, my opponent led a crusade for 4 years, hearing after hearing, months of testimony, debate, anguish, the whole works to get this law passed that now forbids them, 200, from receiving the medical care that parents, doctors, and counselors said that they need. And does that medical care affect him physically, mentally, or financially? No, it does not. Meanwhile, there's 300,000 kids in South Carolina living below poverty. I find that offensive. Not the 200 kids who wish to live their lives the way they see fit. But yet, no hearings were held, no testimony was given, no laws were passed to address that problem. That's what I find offensive. So I think the government should stay out of these personal decisions, and our lawmakers should value our independence. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm running. This is why I am asking for your vote. Please visit my website. Please follow me on social media. Please invite me to speak. I would like to close with a 1-minute video ad that I recently released, which perfectly encapsulates my campaign, and I will leave it with there for you this morning. Thank you, and God bless you.
In Greenwood and Lawrence counties, we have a choice: business as usual or work on priorities that actually matter. We can focus on book bans in schools and libraries, or we can tackle the medical debt that's crushing 1 out of 5 South Carolinians.
We can spend days debating how far the government should go in controlling the health care that doctors provide. Or we can coordinate with federal and private agencies to shore up our cyber defenses and ensure our hospitals, our schools, and our water supplies aren't seized by foreign hackers.
We can continue to scare teachers, students, and parents with misinformation about CRT and DEI. Or we can help our restaurants and venues who have been closing all over the state due to skyrocketing liability insurance costs.
Basically, it comes down to this.
Do you want your representative working on things that have no positive impact on you or me?
Or do you want them to work on priorities that matter?
My name is Bill Kimler, and I'm running for State House in District 13. Not only do I approve of this message, it is my message.
Here's Francie Kleckley for SC Senate District 10, back on July 13, 2024.
So it is wonderful to see such a good crowd of Democrats this morning. That's right. And as always, thank you to Bill, Jumelle, the Democratic Party leadership here in Greenwood for giving me a few minutes to speak. And so I really want to talk today about reclaiming our identity as Democrats. And so I'm going to start with a quote from Michelle Obama, who spoke these words in her final remarks as First Lady. And I feel connected to her hope and to her words, and I hope that you will too. So she says, "It is our fundamental belief in the power of hope that has allowed us to rise above the voices of doubt and division, of anger and fear that we have faced in our lives and in the life of this country. Our hope that if we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, that we can achieve whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations placed on us by others." Now, to me, that embodies the democratic principle, and certainly I do think Michelle Obama is just a fabulous first lady, rock star. I hope you will find those words as empowering as I do. So I have been on this journey for a few months now, and one of the first things that I did is I came to the Greenwood Democratic Convention. I walked in here. Woo, you were all strangers. I am happy to say that that I feel like many of you are good friends now. And I've talked about the things that I believe we should try to achieve in South Carolina. I talked to you about my upbringing in Bennettsville, of parents that didn't have an education, and I watched how hard they had to work running small businesses and full-time jobs. I've talked to you about how I've raised my 2 children in Lexington my entire adult life as a single parent. And I've told you about my 36-year career at the IRS and the things that I learned about the impact of government on everyday people and the work that I did to try to help the citizens of our nation. I told you all of this to demonstrate that I have done the work, and I am now happily retired, but I am out of retirement and I'm stepping up and stepping out to hopefully use those skills again. So I've gotten to spend some time over the past few months getting involved in activities in Greenwood, knocking doors, making phone calls, and so I want to share some of my takeaways, which hopefully we can turn into action items as a Democratic Party. What I have found is there are a lot of Democrats behind those doors, and they are thrilled to see someone knock on their door and talk about things that align with their values. And then they'll say things like, well, I mean, we're the only house. We're the only house. And I can say, because I have access to files, no, you're in good company. There's 5 more Democrats on your street or whatever it is, or in your subdivision. But I have been pleasantly surprised at the number of Democrats that I have found, and the fact that I could share that there are others. Then I have found folks behind those doors that are truly fearful. They're fearful both of the issues that are impacting their lives, and they're fearful because of the aggressive nature of our extreme right politicians. They're too fearful to openly discuss their political views or their political affiliation. Many times it's done in a whisper. That hurts my heart. There's also people that I've found that truly need assistance from our state government. And either there is not a clear path for them, they lack the ability to navigate the bureaucracy, or they don't understand their options. That's our job to take care of them. I find women, lots of women who are frustrated and angry and fearful about the government control over their health care and reproductive rights. And in some cases, I have found a level of desperation and a lack of hope. I receive emails and phone calls as a result of flyers that I leave on the door, and people tell me these horrific stories. My heart just goes out to them, and the more I do this, the more I want to do this. And so I believe that it is past time for us good Democrats to reclaim our identity. And so one of the things when I talk to people in groups or at their doors, I try to remind them who we are as Democrats. And we have to be vigilant in defining who we are as Democrats. We're the party of hope. We're the party of equality. We're the party of fairness for all. We lift each other up. And for the most part, we're just a bunch of well-intentioned, good people. But what we are not as a party, we are not about fear-mongering. We do not spread misinformation, lies, and alternative facts to incite rage and negative reactions. We're not the party of divisiveness. We are the party of togetherness. We're not the party that hides behind the Holy Bible to justify hatred towards anyone that is fundamentally different than themselves. Yet we still whisper about our political leanings. It's a mystery to me. That's why I think it's time that we start talking about our values, because they are good values. We are good people. So when I was a little girl growing up in Bennettsville, my parents, because I was an only child, they gave me some similar advice to the things I'm telling you today. My mom and dad encouraged me to be the best version of myself at whatever I did, to stand up for what's right, and to take care of our neighbors and friends. That is the embodiment of democratic principles in the way I see it. So I was in the thick of my government career, spending lots of weeks in D.C. I was there when Barack Obama was elected. I enjoyed a highly functioning relationship with our congressmen and women and their staffers, where you could have debate and dialogue on whether it was a privacy concern, a cyber attack, undue taxpayer burden, the instrument we give people when we would lose their personally identifiable information to help mitigate any kind of negative impact. I enjoyed that relationship. Of course, we were at the Internal Revenue Service always in a hearing and testimony before our congressman. And one of the things they always liked to do was point out that Trey Gowdy was from South Carolina. And he was one of the, they called him the crazies because I was the only South Carolinian. Somehow it was my fault. I was proud to take my niece and her best friend, a young black girl, to Obama's inauguration, to tour them around D.C. I felt hopeful. I felt like the future was brighter. I was hopeful that we had not only a Democrat for a president, but a black man for a president. I had hoped that the racial tensions of this country would ease, the inequities would shrink, Boy, was I wrong. It seems that instead of healing and valuing others as equal, we became more polarized. There is now a powerful faction of the Republican Party that totally hates anyone that doesn't think like them and see the world like them. I think you know them by their names: the Freedom Caucus, Moms for Liberty, and I know my all-time favorite, the Christian Nationalists, who believe, or who tell you they believe, that Donald Trump was sent by God to punish anyone that did not look and behave and heave to his word. So I don't pretend to know everyone's maker, God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, but my God is one of love, peace, mercy, and grace. So the voices of doubt and division that Michelle Obama talked about, they've become too loud for too long for us to ignore. The Republican trifecta in South Carolina, Republican governor, Republican House, Republican Senate, they have been in full charge for 20 years, which has left us in worse shape than ever. I personally would be ashamed of how the patriarchy, misogyny, homophobia, and just pure self-interest has shaped the lawmakers' agenda for our state. When I talk about agenda, here's what it's led us to. Gun violence in our schools, our homes, our churches, our public facilities has become a pandemic. You can't turn the news off without seeing where there was a shooting. The government has chosen to eliminate women's choices over their own health care. We have a state that turned away federal money to feed the poorest of our children. Who does that? Shameful. And so we see our school boards becoming a cultural battleground for ultra-conservative rights. And now, be forewarned, I'm going to get into my inner IRS self. I'm going to talk about what we do with our tax dollars. So, we also have a government in South Carolina who wants to use our tax dollars to give private school tax credits and school vouchers. Essentially, that will erode our public education. Now, we're already 42nd in the nation. It's not like we're high achievers already. I think every child in South Carolina deserves a quality public education. We have a government that turned away Medicaid expansion. Now, this is my, kind of inner IRS self. Now, we've paid taxes on that money already. Not only did it leave 345,000 South Carolinians, 82,000 of which are children, without affordable health care, but check your pay stub, we've paid taxes on that money that's now in another state helping other people. The price tag on that decision over the next 10 years is $28 billion. We have to bring that money back. Have to bring that money back. And then, yet, after the debacle over the misplacement of education lottery scholarship money, where the state treasurer was ousted, we find $1.8 billion in a bank account that seemingly no one knows where the money came from, where it came from, or what it was intended for. This mystery dates back not just over one cycle, but 10 years. And so now, with your tax dollars, our folks have allocated $5 million to pay private accountants to sort out where the money is. Should have done it right the first time. I'm sorry, my inner IRS self knows that is mismanagement of taxpayer funds. And so I will ask you, do you want Billy Garrett, John McCravey, and their buddies running our state going forward? No, I can tell you the answer to that. So if you see the picture much like I do, much like I have painted it for you, it is now to put our democratic convictions into play, square our shoulders, roll up our sleeves, and get to work. I am saying yes to my doubts and fears by running for this office. And yes, it is a grueling game. But it is people like you that have welcomed me so warmly that continues to give me the courage. It's the people behind those doors who need our help. And I continue to remind myself that we are the party of inclusion, compassion, empathy, just and kind qualities, and are admirable, and we have nothing to be ashamed of. And so, like I said, part of the reason I'm saying yes is because folks like you, here in Greenwood, you have built the big tent where white, black, gay, straight, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, all the things are welcome and respected. And there's many of you out there who I have gotten to know, who have supported me, who have reached out, who have offered help. Many of the folks who are sitting in the room right now. I see my good friends Cindy and Anthony down there. There you go. And certainly Bill and Jumelle. I see Mama Nickerson over there. And you know, folks that aren't here, certainly Alan, George, Carl, and Rebecca, who is helping me find an office space here in Greenwood so that I can get to know you better and I can get to know you on a more informal basis. And then there's Rusty Wilson back there, who picked up 40-something of my signs and has stored them for me. I think he's going to rent them back to me today, though, maybe. So just wonderful people. And then I'm going to give one more shout out because I think it's kind of funny. It is Susie Holloway. The first day I came up here, now she didn't know me from Adam's house cat, and she immediately said, now I know you're going to need to spend the night in Greenwood and you're welcome to stay with me. And I'm thinking, you know, that is above and beyond. And then there's folks like Tori and Deb, constant support. Now the joke's going to be on Susie when I roll up with my little U-Haul and say I'm here for the next 4 months. No, just kidding. And so I'll add, you really, you know, I have been in these other county party meetings. You are so fortunate to have good candidates to rally around and support. Yeah, I'm including myself in that. Who are we kidding? But you've got Bryon Best at the congressional level. You've got Francie Kleckley, Bill Kimler, Jumelle Brooks, and Mr. Robinson. Is Mr. Robinson here? I don't think I've seen him. At the county level. And so because your party is so well organized, I think you are perfectly positioned to be helpful. Again, I said we've got to rally, we got to roll up our sleeves. My mom and daddy used to say anything worth having is worth working for. And so I'm going to give you a little call to action here today. The first thing is to be armed with the facts. Educate yourself about the issues at stake, what the facts are, because, you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so one of the sources for that, and shamelessly I like to use this source, is your own party. The fact that we put out those sheets with the issues, and now Bill has done something on Project 2025, that is an excellent source of factual information. And then, now this is going to be a shameless plug, and I'm sure I'm going to get some Bill Kimler Freedom Water for it later, but the Black, White, and Blue in the South podcast. I mean, that is some truth-telling right there. That's what they really think. So that is a source for staying up to date. And so then I charge you with, everyone has a skill or a talent. You know, I like knocking the doors. Some people like making phone calls. Some people like writing postcards. But everyone brings something to this, and everyone has got to get to work with whatever the skill they bring. And so we would all love it if you would volunteer to do something to push our candidacy forward. And I would challenge each of you to talk to your fair-minded friends. You know, I can't send you into the thicket of the hard right, but I believe that 70% of America is right here in the middle, and we all have some shared values. And so talk with your friends, and if you got friends that are not happy about paying taxes, then channel Francie's inner IRS self and talk about what they're doing with our tax dollars, because if they used them wisely, maybe we wouldn't have to pay so much in taxes. Or if it's a woman who is concerned, or a young woman or a niece or whatever about women's reproductive rights, talk to them about that. The Medicaid issue, meet the folks where they are, talk about the facts, and explain that there are candidates that they can vote for that can help resolve these bad laws. So I challenge each of you to do that. All of these candidates, we need your time and we need your talents to help us get through this. The other thing is the power of social media. Now, not everybody likes it, not everybody enjoys it, but if you take a yard sign, or if you're wearing a t-shirt, or if you were generally somehow representing one of us, take a picture, post it on social media, share with your friends. And I will say that we are all in South Carolina, which is a small town, and we all know people who can vote in this, whether it's District 12, 13, or 10. Make those phone calls. Commit to calling your fair-minded friends and follow through and make sure they get to the polls. You can put out some yard signs. One of the things I learned door knocking is people were so fearful. There were two types of folks. They were fearful if they put out a sign for a Democrat about the retribution from their neighbors. The other part of it was there were people who wanted a sign just to aggravate their neighbors. I like them. But there are folks who, can talk with you about what they need from state government. And I encourage you to let us, your candidates, know what those issues are if you think we are not aware of those. And never forget the power of the vote. I know I'm preaching to the choir, and I know everyone in here probably goes to the poll to vote, but you've got to help other folks. Early voting starts October 21st. The other thing I'm going to tell you is don't forget who you are and that we're the party of good. Bill and I have t-shirts over there on the table. I'm going to go, Edith, and get some fans for your church thing. I also have some rubber bracelets. Taking some of our treasures and sharing those with your friends or at your church groups is a way to spread the word. I am always interested in getting more embedded in the religious community. Please invite me to attend church with you. And finally, I do say finally, I'm going to give you a quote from the late Barbara Jordan, Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. There is too much at stake for democracy to be a spectator sport. We have all got to get out of the bleachers and get on the field and play the game and get the voters to the polls if we want to see a change in South Carolina. Thank you so much for your time.
Next is Bryon Best for U.S. Congress in South Carolina's 3rd Congressional District from May 4th, 2024.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing this morning? Good morning. All right, my name is Bryon Best. I am a native of Edgefield, South Carolina. I currently reside in Greenwood now, where I manage the Sherwin-Williams paint store. So if you need paint, please come by there, but please come by. I will give you a good deal. All right. The question is, who is Bryon Best? Bryon Best is an ordinary man with an extraordinary vision. Bryon Best is a man I'm from Edgefield County, small town. I am a husband, I am a father, and I'm a person that cares about my community. 1994. It's been 30 years since a Democratic candidate won this seat. In 94, I believe I was in 3rd, 4th grade. Long time ago. But it's been 30 years since a candidate been in this seat that's had integrity. 30 years since it's been a candidate that had a trusted voice within the community. When I go out and speak in the community, you know what I hear? When I ask questions about, have you seen your congressman? Do you know who your congressman is? No one knows. No one knows who our congressman is because he doesn't come by and check on the community. Trusted voices is what we need. We need a candidate that's gonna, you can trust, that has integrity, that's gonna do right by people. I grew up in the 15%, not having much, but taking advantage of the opportunities that came forth my way. I grew up with my parents sitting down making decisions on whether to feed us or pay the light bill. I grew up with not having much at all, but I always had my head up high, and I always had pride in myself. My parents taught me integrity. My parents taught me how to stand on my word and be accountable. This week, I was at a forum in Anderson, and I was with my other counterparts, the Republican side. And it's unreal the way they think. They don't think about nobody but the hierarchy. People are hurting. People are struggling. People need help. But they look beyond that. I had a guy there spoke about gun control. Spoke about border control. And it was so much of a racist rhetoric that it disgusted me. No one person is better than the next man or the next woman. Congress right now, one of the big problems is we have people in their boat, even there on the Republican side, that's fighting against one another and building up a wall. We have to tear that wall down and build bridges so we can connect with people. Someone asked me, what is my big issues that I really focus on? I'm focused on education because I know what education done for me and I know what education can do for this district. What education does is when a big corporation want to come in and bring in companies within our district, what they look at it, is the education level, the crime rate. When you have low education, crime is high. So who wants to invest millions of dollars into a district when they know they got low education and high crime rate? It makes them, the business owner, think, why would I invest millions of dollars? Because are they competent enough to be able to produce my products? So what education does, it brings a positive chain reaction to our district. And then it brings in jobs, infrastructure, housing, affordable housing, because if people can have affordable jobs, affordable living, paying jobs that pay good wages, that it makes them want to buy homes. It builds the local economy up. It brings business into the economy. It gets young college students from Lander, Erskine, Clemson, Anderson University to stay within our communities. We don't want to have a district where we have young adults who want to build families and thrive, has to go to different areas to be able to live. We want to keep that here. That helps fuel the economy. We need to work on also expanding Medicare. We have a lot of seniors that are not getting the proper Medicare and not affordable. Social Security. We have a lot of seniors that are living off maybe $600-700 a month. No one can live that way. The way the inflation is right now and the way prices are going up, but I have a personal opinion on inflations. That's why I believe in government stepping in with these big companies. Because a lot of this inflation going on is big companies that price gouging and taking advantage of the smaller consumer. So we need regulations with that. I believe in gun safety. I believe we have the right to defend ourselves and be able to own guns, but no one needs an AR-15 that can shoot 100 people at one time. That's near and dear to my heart because I lost my brother to a gun violence. A guy murdered my brother. He had got a gun that Monday and murdered my brother that Thursday. What if they had a regulation where they got to wait 30 days before he received the gun or get a mental test? That could have saved my brother's life. So being a product of gun violence and see how it tore my family up, I'm an advocate of gun safety. I'm an advocate of if a person gets a gun, they should get a sheet with it they have to sign so they can be able to go to gun safety classes. Get a license certificate with a sticker on it. Every 2 years, take a course. Because laws change. And if they don't have that sticker renewed, take their gun away or give them a big fine. We have to hold people accountable. Accountability is one of the biggest things that our Congress is missing right now. But I blame us. I blame the people because we have the power. But we're sitting back and letting them abuse us. So our votes matter. Hold me accountable. If I'm not doing what I've said I'm going to do, I want you to tell me, Mr. Best, you're not doing this. Mr. Best, you're not doing that. Because I'm a man, and I was raised to be accountable. When I get elected, I have a game plan of every quarter meeting with my county chairs so we can have open town halls, open transparent dialogue. Because it's your voices that need to be heard in Congress, not my voice. But how can I know these things if you're not communicating with me and I'm not listening to you? So being a good listener is what I pledge to be. You have to listen to your constituents to know what's going on in the communities. It's y'all communities that y'all live in every day. Y'all see the problems that are going on in our communities. One of the main things I've seen since I've been traveling is the roads are terrible. Oh, God. But we need to be able to get with our county councils and our county commissioners so we can be able to solve these problems. We can do it. But we have to get together and bring change. I think it's insanity if you're sitting back and watching the same thing go over and over again, and there's no change. That's why they're doing what they're doing, because they know that the voters are not holding them accountable. Jeff Duncan been in about 10 years and hadn't done nothing because no one charged and held him accountable for his actions. So why vote for me? I'm a candidate that's committed, compassionate, and intentional. I say CCI. And it's funny I say that because my son was the one who gave it to me. 6 years old and has a passion and cares about people. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to see that my son cares about people. I care about people. I care about this district. June 11th, I want everyone to come out there and vote. Go to your communities. If you see someone in your community that's not registered or hasn't voted in a while, tell them about me. You go on my webpage, email me, and I'll get back to you. I want to thank you for this morning, for having me here to speak. Thank you for your support, and God bless.
Here's Bryon again from October 5th, 2024.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Just like every one of y'all, we've been affected with the storm. We just got power last night. I'm thankful for that. Thankful for that. And I'm going through a lot, but I'm thankful for my son who has all the personality in the world to keep my spirits up for what he said. He told me the other day that, Daddy, my life is in shambles. 7 years old. Your life in shambles. And he told me that. I laughed, but it built my spirits up. I'm Bryon Best, and I'm running for U.S. Congress 3rd Congressional District seat. My opponent, who's been avoiding me like the plague, is Sherry Biggs. I've been chasing her around, trying to get her to open forum debate, but she's been avoiding me, but that's a smart move for her. So my message is today is we got 30 days. We got 30 days to knock on doors. We got 30 days to get our voices out and our voices heard. We got 30 days to be able to inform people and persuade people who to vote for. We have a whole list of strong Democratic candidates. They are the best candidates for the job. So 30 days, I need everyone in here knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing everything you can volunteer-wise to be able to help put the whole slate in. The top of the ticket is important, but we need the bottom half of the ticket to get in so we can allocate change within our state. Now, top of the ticket is very important, but in South Carolina, who we elect as our House representatives, our Congress people, they're the ones that control what goes on in this state. So a lot of people don't realize that. So they're the one that create the laws. So when you hear people say, oh, FEMA's not giving us, it's the Republicans that was in here that blocked it. Yeah, they blocked it. So don't put everything on Joe Biden. because Joe Biden gives every state a budget, but our governor pick and choose what he wants in the state. That's right. So don't y'all forget that. That's right. So I had to explain that to a couple of MAGA guys this week when they was complaining about, oh, they are giving all the illegals all this. They're not. Let's make sense with this. Nobody's illegal is gonna tell somebody, oh, I'm illegal. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to go to jail. That don't make sense. So we need to change that narrative and keep informing people that who we have in this state that been leading this state for the past 40, 50 years, they're the problem. So I'm Bryon Best, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. Yes. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. I can tell you a little story. So like yesterday, because I've been staying with my in-laws. So yesterday he comes downstairs with his house robe on, and my mother-in-law, she keeps the house real cold at night, and so he said, "Daddy, I can't live under these conditions." So his life is in shambles because of Wi-Fi. Our Wi-Fi was down, so he couldn't play on his tablet. So that was so funny to me. I just couldn't believe. But I'm thankful for his personality because it kept me going. And this week been a trying week. I've been in the neighborhoods with my truck clearing out trees, people's yards. I've been this week at my job. I paid for painters who lost power. I made sure they had food. And so even today, me and Jumelle, we're going to McCormick and help feed. McCormick got hit real bad. And so we're leaving here after this program and going out and feeding people because it's about helping people. You know, it's all about serving the community because community, I said this before, unity is the strength in our communities. So when we have unity and we're together, the community can be able to thrive and grow and be strong. And we are strong people, and it's a lot more of us than them. So we have to realize that our strength in numbers, how powerful we can be. So thank y'all for your support. Thank y'all for
Let's now hear from Ken Robinson for Greenwood County Council District 4. This is from August 3rd, 2024.
Oh, what the heck. Well, I'm not like them. I had to have a piece of paper. I'm running for District 4 County Council. Now, I don't know much Greek, but one word I know is enthusiasm. The Greek word is entheos, which means God within. And you can look out here that we have enthusiasm. Now, one thing about it, there's not enough people here under the age of 50. That's something that we need to work on because they will vote and they will make a difference. They will make the difference this year. I'm going to say this, Bill, this won't take about 3 minutes and 72 seconds, something like that. This is my first time into politics. I found out that people are somewhat selfish. I don't know if you knew that or not. I'm running in District 4 County Council. That's from Durst Avenue and the bypass on one side and Maxwell Avenue on the other goes to the Abbeville County line and almost to Promised Land. This is the biggest probably and the wealthiest district. And it probably has the lowest percentage of minorities in it. Just want to tell you that. But you know, speaking of people being selfish, I've been requested when I talk to people about me running, they wanted to tamper Pathway House. Now, Pathway House is a house that helps homeless people, give them 60 days in there. Someone said, well, why are we doing all this and releasing the people here in Greenwood? They want to help the homeless. Also, I've said, why do you want to get a recreation center, a public recreation center with a pool in Greenwood? Why do you want that? You see, so I'm just saying is that if I'm elected, I'll be for all the people. People in Gatewood, people in, who else am I? Around Lander. So, and that's not very popular to be a candidate for all the people. I can talk loud, this microphone is. All right, so, but you know, it's just But then on the bright side, I found that most people are decent on an individual basis. I've talked to people who are Trump supporters. They may be for him, but if you talk to people on an individual basis, most people are basically nice, or somewhat nice. Somewhat. But here's something I found about voting and about life. They will vote for you if they like you and trust you. Now, I have an advantage over most people. I've been in Greenwood for over 40 years, and I know a lot of people. Most of them know me. Now, if you're running for a state office, people don't know you. But in Greenwood, they know me. So my mother said, your name goes before you. So I hadn't done anything that was too bad that anybody found out about. All right, now, and lastly, I'm headed to Chicago also. I'm not going as a delegate, but I am going as a transportation specialist. Don't clap on that. All that is I'm going to be driving people back and forth to the airport and things of that nature. But I just wanted to be in the number. This is exciting. I'm just about ready to end, Bill. My dad would have me up in North Carolina 12 o'clock at night watching the news in 60 Minutes and these conventions. And I remember in 1968 in Chicago when Richard Nixon was there. I remember when Bobby Kennedy got killed. I remember all this stuff. So it's in me, but it's come out at age 68. But I'm in a hurry because Nikki Haley said I don't have but 7 more years to go. She said at 75, you're washed up. That's what she said. I beg to differ. Listen, I just want to thank all of you. Now, I have some cards in my car, and I was sitting, Miss Edwards, you would appreciate this. I was sitting in bed one morning, and the Lord spoke to me. I had some cards made up. Got a picture from 50 years ago and one now. But then it said, right in Spanish on the other side, and you will be surprised at the amount of attention that the Hispanic community gives, because they are so disillusioned and they receive prejudice from us, people as color. So for someone to take time for them, they'll listen. That's a huge voting block, and we ignore. Listen, my time is up, and thank you so much.
And finally, Teresa Goodman, who is running for school board in Greenwood District 50. She spoke on September 7th, 2024.
Good morning. So I want to say thank you for you all inviting me. I know this is a nonpartisan seat and office, and for you all to allow me to come this morning, I really appreciate it. I want to thank my son for hanging with me this morning, because, 10-year-olds don't necessarily want to get up early on a Saturday. So I know 10-year-olds don't necessarily like getting up early on Saturday, but he decided to roll with his mama today, and I appreciate that. So this is an opportunity right now for you all just to get to know me, to find out who I am, what I believe in, and why I would like to serve. I am Teresa Goodman. I am running for seat 3 on the Greenwood School District 50 board, and I'm doing that because I believe in the power of education to transform lives and build stronger communities. Over the years, I've had the privilege of working closely with children, families, and educators in various capacities. An educator raised me. My mother actually taught the culinary arts class at the Career Center back in the 90s. She taught at Gleams, at the Midway School for Head Start, and she retired as a guidance counselor. As a child, I visited and spent a lot of time at Clinton High School because there, my grandmother, who was a history teacher and then was the first Black woman to actually be a high school administrator, and she retired as the first and the only assistant principal at the time as a Black woman at Clinton High School. So education is important. And I feel like I've spent my life in school. But my credentials include
creating equitable child care opportunities, mentoring youth in both community organizations and school districts, as well as implementing workforce training programs for preteens. I've seen firsthand the incredible potential that exists within every student when they're given support, resources, and opportunities to succeed. From 1996 to 99, I had the opportunity to develop workforce training programs for teens aged 13 to 16 with JTPA. And those programs were designed to build on each young person's unique interests and capabilities. They ensured that they had the skills and the confidence to pursue a successful future, whether that was with college, a career, or contributing directly to our community. I learned through that experience that family support is important. Connecting with parents and guardians is crucial to helping our youth succeed. In 1999, I worked at Bell Street Middle School in Clinton, South Carolina, where my focus and my role helped students understand the importance of health and how that translates to their future mental and physical well-being. By teaching them about healthy habits and self-care, I helped them recognize how these choices impact their ability to succeed in the classroom and beyond. It's experiences like this that solidified my commitment to the holistic development of youth. I'm especially proud to have developed the Toddler Learning Center in 2022, a project that is very close to my heart. This center was the vision for providing equitable child care where children, regardless of their family's ability to pay, had access to high-quality early education. I firmly believe that that is the foundation for children's success, and it begins long before they hit kindergarten. With this initiative, I set out to make sure that every child in our community has an equal start. I'm running for the school board because I want to take my experience and my passion for education and community service to the next level. I believe that together, we can create a school district where every child, every student, regardless of their background, can thrive. This morning, I want to share more with you about my vision in this role and focus on 5 key words that define my approach: transformational, strategic, empowering, innovative, and collaborative. The first word is transformational. And transformation is at the heart of what I've done throughout my career. It's not enough to accept the status quo when our children's futures are at stake. We have the power to change the trajectory of every student in our district by providing an environment where they can be supported, and not just academically, but emotionally and socially as well. At the Toddler Learning Center, my goal was to ensure that all children, no matter their family's financial situation, had access to the same quality early education. This type of transformation is essential because it ensures that every child starts school with a strong foundation, and it sets them up for long-term success. And just as I've worked to transform early childhood education, I believe we need a similar transformation in our K-12 system. We can't measure success by test scores alone. We need to focus on the whole child, their creativity, critical thinking, and their ability to engage the world around them. My vision is to help an education system and shape an education system that prepares our students for life, not just the next exam. Strategic. Let's talk about strategic thinking. In every role that I've held, I've had to approach challenges with a clear plan and a long-term vision. When I led the expansion of community initiatives, it wasn't by chance that we grew our budget from $150,000 to now close to $900,000 a year, expanding services across 6 counties and building new partnerships. It was through careful strategic planning. This same strategic approach is what I plan to bring to our school district. One of my top priorities is to support our teachers and ensure that they have what they need to do their jobs effectively. We need to give our teachers access to ongoing professional development, the resources they need in the classroom, and make sure that they feel valued in our community. We also need to address the district's personnel needs. By strategically recruiting and retaining highly qualified educators and staff, we then can create an environment where everyone is empowered to contribute to the district's goals. We have to develop a plan that reduces turnover and ensures that we're providing competitive salaries and benefits. We have to create a supportive work culture that attracts the best talent. The third key word is empowering. Throughout my career, whether it's been working with the families at Toddler Learning Center or developing workforce training for teens, empowerment has always been at the center of my work. We have to empower our students, and that means giving them the tools they need to succeed in whatever path they choose. Whether a student wants to go to a 4-year college, a technical school, enter the workforce, we need to provide them with the resources and opportunities to make those dreams a reality. I'm especially proud of the work that I did with JTPA because I helped children develop work skills that were critical to their future. This program was designed to build on those children's personal interests and capabilities. It helped them recognize their own strengths and understand how to apply them in real-world situations. And this type of training is critical to ensure that our youth are prepared to enter the workforce and pursue their further education with confidence and skill. This philosophy extends to our teachers as well. We have to empower them. We have to empower our educators by giving them a voice in the decision-making process, involve them in shaping the policies and the programs that affect their classrooms. The fourth word is innovative. Today, we live in a fast-paced world. Our students need an education that can keep up with that and the changing demands of the 21st century. That means we have to be creative and forward-thinking in how we approach learning. For example, when I was at Bell Street, I worked with students to help them understand the connection between their health and their academic success. We didn't just focus on textbooks. We took an innovative approach that integrated physical, mental, and emotional well-being into a curriculum. This is the type of holistic care that holistic learning that helps students see the different aspects of their lives and how they're interconnected. As a member of the school board, I want to advocate for expanding vocational training and STEM education in our schools. These programs offer hands-on experience that can ignite a passion in our students and prepare them for high-demand fields. We must be open to new ideas. We have to embrace technology and create an environment where innovation thrives. Lastly, collaboration. Being collaborative as a leader is essential. I firmly believe that the best results come when we work together. As I've done in my previous roles, I will build bridges between parents, teachers, students, and community leaders. We have to create a school system that works for everyone. Collaboration just isn't about meetings and discussions. It's about making sure that our voices are heard, that everyone has a seat at the table. I've always been committed to inclusivity and ensuring that diverse perspectives help shape the policies where our students are affected. Whether it's working with local businesses to support our students in career development or partnering with community organizations to provide additional resources, collaboration is the key to a stronger, more connected school district. In closing, my experience as a transformational, strategic, empowering, innovative, and collaborative leader has prepared me to serve our schools and community in a meaningful way. I believe that together we can create an environment where every student is given the opportunity to succeed. Every teacher is supported, and every family feels good and engaged in the process. I'm excited to bring my vision for equitable opportunities to every student to receive a high-quality education that will translate into a comfortable lifestyle for them and their families. We have to create a thriving community, and we can do that starting with the school board. I know that with the right leadership, we can make our district a place where all students are prepared to succeed in life, whether that's by going to college, entering the workforce, or even going into the armed forces. I ask for your support, and I know that everybody here is not in District 3, but you may know someone who is, and you may know someone that I don't know. And if you can tell them what I've told you today about me, that would help tremendously, and I would appreciate it greatly. Because what I do know is, together we will make a difference. Thank you. Questions?
And that's a wrap on this bonus episode of Black, White, and Blue in the South. The candidates you heard speak today, not one of them is a lifelong politician. In fact, with the exception of myself, every one of them is running for the first time. They are everyday citizens who felt compelled to serve, to take a shot at challenging the status quo. Maybe one day it'll be your turn. I hope you seriously think about it. If you have any questions about the process, drop us a note. As Robert F. Kennedy once said, and I'm talking about the original RFK, not his crackpot son, as RFK said in his famous speech.
It is a revolutionary world that we all live in. And thus, as I have said in Latin America, and in Asia, and in Europe, and in my own country, the United States, it is the young people who must take the lead. Thus you and your young compatriots everywhere have had thrust upon you a greater burden of responsibility than any generation that has ever lived. There is, said an Italian philosopher, nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Yet this is the measure of the task of your generation, and the road is strewn with many dangers. First is the danger of futility, the belief there is nothing one man or one woman can do against the enormous array of the world's ills, against misery, against ignorance, or injustice and violence. Yet many of the world's great movements of thought and action have flowed from the work of a single man. A young monk began the Protestant Reformation. A young general extended an empire from Macedonia to the borders of the earth. And a young woman reclaimed the territory of France. It was a young Italian explorer who discovered the New World, and 32-year-old Thomas Jefferson, who proclaimed that all men are created equal. Give me a place to stand, said Archimedes, and I will move the world. These men move the world, and so can we all. Few will have the greatness to bend history, but each of us can work to change a small portion of the events, and in the total, all of these acts will be written in the history of this generation.
The end. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.